Senator Chastain, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Gavan, Senator Roberts, Senator Shelnut, Senator Stewart, Senator Weaver, Senator Williams, Senator Stutz, Senator Melson.
Here. All right, let's call the first bill.
SB 72 by Senator Orr.
You have the sub. Senator Orr, welcome. It's an honor.
Now, for doctors to prescribe off-label prescriptions that have certainly the prescription has been approved, but without fear of any recourse. And I think there's an amendment that the chairman has or somebody has that on this.
Is amendment or sub?
It may be a sub. I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I move adoption of the substitute.
All right, do I hear a second? All in favor say aye. All right, the sub's adopted.
All right. That's it. I mean, I've got a bunch of medical professionals in here. I'm not going to try to out-explain myself. If I got questions, my co-sponsor will be glad to answer.
Well, thank you for bringing this bill. Does any of the members have any questions they'd like to ask? Senator Stutz?
I move favorable report.
All right. Call the roll. We'll get a claim.
Senator Beasley, Senator Bell, Senator Butler, Senator Chastain, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Gavan, Senator Roberts, Senator Shelnut, Senator Stewart, Senator Weaver, Senator Williams, Senator Stutz,
Aye.
Senator Melson.
Aye. Thank you, Senator Orr.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members.
Unanimously, thank you. You have the next bill, so would you call it out, please?
SB 59 by Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is something that I, upon research, found that requiring CPR or defibrillator training in high schools is not required in the health classes these days in high school. That you do have to have health to graduate, but this is not part of it. And I just believe it's important that all young people, or everybody really, not just young people, understand the importance of CPR and how to operate one of those defibrillator machines, which are more current or common today than they were 15, 20 years ago.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment.
All right, Senator Chastain, would you like to tell us what the amendment did?
I will be happy to. On line 32 on page 2 with following section 1, this act shall be known and may be cited as the Senator Tim Melson Act.
Thank you.
I make a motion. I second that.
Well, thank you. A little moment of discussion on the amendment. Thank you, Senator Orr. I was not expected, and many of y'all know, I hate to say this, but I owe Senator Orr and Senator Chastain and Senator Livingston my life. They didn't panic. They performed CPR, and 42 minutes. I've seen a lot of people quit long before then. So I really appreciate what y'all did, and guess I owe y'all a vote here and there, but
no, you don't owe us anything. That's the good Lord's doing. But again, we're glad you're back in the saddle, and certainly I think it would certainly help. Who knows down the road if these young people are learning that skill? It doesn't require them to be certified and have so many, but at least it also doesn't take a whole lot of sense once you learn the basics of pull the tongue out, evacuate the mouth, and where to start pushing. So anyway, I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chairman.
that's more information than I wanted to know right there.
That's all right. Well,
So I really appreciate you, and Donnie, you too, and Steve. It just, like I say, y'all performed a lot longer, and you didn't hesitate, and people frequently panic in those situations, and thank y'all again. So, previous row okay, or any objections?
Objection.
Thank you.
I'd like to be added.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so do I have a motion to, for the pass the bill? All right, Senator Williams, second by Senator Roberts. Previous row. Thank you, sir. And
Thank you, Mr. Chairman
and I need to
members.
ask you, was there a physical note on this bill that you need to share with us since you're always worried about the?
No, not on this. Yeah, they're not going to require the certification, but again, the exposure will be tremendous. And I guarantee you somewhere down the road, maybe 10 years, 15 years, it'll save somebody's life. And so it's important.
I appreciate you bringing the bill.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next bill.
SB 96 by Senator Melson.
Okay, this bill creates a new definition, and I know there's a public hearing. I'm not sure who called it. I think it was the American Lung Association, but this bill actually creates a new definition for a non-heated tobacco product. It currently is being sold internationally, but not in the U.S. It's unique in that it's heated, but it's not burned, and it doesn't produce the carcinogens, and so. And I'll let them talk, but it's supposedly 95% less risk than cigarettes. We're going to add an amendment that somebody's going to offer today that puts actually a tax on it because there was some concern. I want to move this out of the committee if the committee agrees, but I'm not going to probably move it forward on the floor since it does put a tax on it. It'll need to originate in the House. That will be the plan. And so, did anybody sign up for the public hearing or? Okay. Okay. Ms. Adams?
Hi, Mr. Chairman. So good to see you well, and members of the committee. Good afternoon. I'm Jane Adams. As the Alabama Government Relations Director for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, I'm here to testify on behalf of the 30,000 Alabama residents who will be diagnosed with cancer this year and the 10,000 who will die from the disease. ACS CAN, the nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy affiliate of the American Cancer Society, advocates for public policies to end cancer as we know it for everyone, including policies targeted at improving the health of our state by reducing tobacco use. Unfortunately, Senate Bill 96 would do the opposite. ACS CAN strongly opposes Senate Bill 96, which would create a new category of tobacco products in the tax code of heated tobacco products and exempt them from taxation. Exempting a tobacco product from taxation makes it more appealing to price-sensitive consumers, including youth. In 2023, 370,000 students nationwide reported ever using heated tobacco products. All tobacco products, including heated tobacco products, are unsafe and should be taxed and regulated in the same manner to encourage people who use tobacco products to quit, and to keep youth from ever starting. Increasing tobacco taxes is one of the most effective ways to reduce tobacco use, especially among kids, and tobacco companies know it. Exempting tobacco products from taxation and therefore lowering the price of tobacco products is one major way for the tobacco industry to protect their bottom line, addict people with cheap products, and keep them addicted. No tobacco product is safe. Heated tobacco products contain nicotine, which is addictive, and other toxic cancer-causing chemicals that can cause serious health problems. Research suggests that heated cigarettes and their emissions contain many of the same dangerous ingredients as regular cigarettes, as well as other unhealthy ingredients not present in regular cigarettes. Heated tobacco products contain more than 20 toxic chemicals. ACS CAN urges you to protect kids, not big tobacco's profits, and oppose efforts to eliminate taxes on any tobacco product, including on heated tobacco products. We urge you to vote no on Senate Bill 96 and to protect the health of Alabamians. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for her? Sure, please, Senator Williams.
What was the tax levied on this? You said it was added back. It's like tax
It will
on
be.
tobacco.
It's an amendment. It will be added 3.4%. And I get where you're coming from. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, until it's priced, I mean, it's hard to say it's more competitive or not competitive than
Right.
than cigarettes. But I understand, and I think the market's trying to attract people that currently smoke to a less harmful product. But I know where you're coming from, and I appreciate you being here today.
I appreciate you having the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Butler. Not the same. We'll cover that in just a second. I appreciate you asking that, Senator Butler. But American Lung Association Representative Ashley, are you a member of the Medical Association? Or do you just write like a doctor?
Good afternoon. I have some handouts. One second. Pardon my bum lung. My bum is not ankle.
All right. 2 minutes is what we need.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
didn't mention that before.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Chair Melson and members of the Senate Healthcare Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts on Senate Bill 96. My name is Ashley Lyerly, and I'm the Senior Director of Advocacy for the American Lung Association. And unfortunately, the American Lung Association is opposed to Senate Bill 96 in its current form. This bill would exempt heated tobacco products from tobacco taxes in the state of Alabama. You may be wondering, what is a heated tobacco product? Well, heated tobacco products are the latest attempt by the tobacco industry to addict kids to nicotine. They are essentially heated cigarettes that use low temperature combustion to heat processed commercial tobacco leaves. They operated by inserting a tobacco stick, which basically looks like a cigarette, into the device that is heated to create an inhalable substance that contains nicotine and other chemicals. While you may look familiar, they are different than e-cigarettes. E-cigarettes aerosolize a liquid cocktail of nicotine and other chemicals, while heated tobacco products heat processed tobacco leaves. One of the most well-known brands of these products in the U.S. is IQOS, which is manufactured by Philip Morris International and distributed by Altria. These products have taken over the global market, but have slowly been test marketing in certain cities like Atlanta, Charlotte, and Richmond, with boutique-like stores similar to Apple over the past years. IQOS devices and accompanying heat sticks, which are also marketed as Marlboro Heats, retail for around $80. While users own the device, purchasing additional heat sticks is approximately $5.75 for a pack of 20. Just like they do for all their products, the tobacco industry has a track record of instituting promotional price strategies to lower prices, similar to Senate Bill 96. Which includes actively working to give heated tobacco products a beneficial tax treatment to reduce the price to make them more attractive to youth and young adults. No tobacco products, including these products, are safe. Tobacco companies claim heated cigarettes are less harmful than conventional cigarettes, but there is little evidence to demonstrate that claim, especially in the long term. IQOS, or heated tobacco products, are classified as a cigarette by the FDA. The industry isn't denying that it contains real tobacco. It should be taxed as a cigarette and regulated within Alabama's tobacco control statute. Senate Bill 96 does not do that. Please oppose Senate Bill 96, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have there been any studies in regards to e-cigarette products on the impact of secondhand smoke?
But this doesn't produce a smoke, but we'll get to that when I have another. Thank you, but you can go ahead.
Yes, there have been. I'm happy to also share those with you.
Yeah. So, and I know you say it should be taxed the same as tobacco products, cigarettes. I mean, that'd be almost like taxing, wine, beer, and liquor all the same based on it has alcohol in it. And I just think that to say that all tobacco products, should be taxed the same might be a little bit of a stretch, but we'll get further down that road.
Yeah, certainly. I think we obviously have certain levels of taxes. I think certainly these products have been regulated as cigarettes at the federal level, and so I think as a state we should be taxing them as such.
Yeah. Well, this product hadn't. It's not here in the U.S. yet. But
it is actually in the U.S. They've been test marketing it in Atlanta, Richmond, and Charlotte.
Okay.
Hasn't made it to Alabama yet, but certainly they're waiting for FDA approval for their newest product before they start marketing it across the U.S.
All right,
Thank you.
Is Allen Baker or is it Baker Allen? It's put back. All right. I recognize
Happier
you
to
now.
see Alan Baker than they are to see Baker Allen, I find.
I don't know about that, but
Yeah. Well, good afternoon. My name is Baker Allen. I'm the Director of Policy and Research for the Alabama League of Municipalities. Our concern on this was on the taxation side. It sounds like there is an amendment that would fix that. We look forward to reviewing that. But our original concern is that Removing taxes on that local level impacts the services that municipalities are able to deliver to their citizens. That is essentially our concern. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. So now Carrie Paulson. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Kerry Paulson with Altria, Philip Morris USA. I know there's some confusion about the companies, but we're the U.S. part of Philip Morris. The company that's pursuing this legislation is the international part of Philip Morris. Global headquarters in Europe. Ours are here in the U.S. And this is the product that's being talked about. Under federal definition and under the master settlement definition, this is a cigarette. It's tobacco rolled in paper. I'd be happy to pass this around if you wanted to see it. Many of you have already seen it.
Does anybody want to see it? Yeah. Okay, pass it around then.
And Mr. Chairman, in all deference to your bill, we support the concept of harm reduction. We support looking at products sort of on a continuum in terms of taxes and regulation. Sure. But before you even get to that, it's really the definition that's the issue, and I think that could cause some concern downstream in Alabama. And I'm talking about the Master Settlement Agreement. So my company is a signatory to the Master Settlement Agreement. That was done 25 years ago between the states and the tobacco companies. The company that's pursuing this is not a signatory to the MSA. And so changing the definition could have an impact downstream on whether the pack of those heat sticks are counted towards MSA allocation for units sold. Alabama gets over 110 million a year from the MSA. And some of that, again, if the definition is changed, could cause some concerns downstream because the difference is one company is part of the settlement and the other is going through a different pathway. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Any questions?
What do you mean by MSA in that usage? Please?
I'm sorry, I speak in acronyms. It's the Master Settlement Agreement in 1998 between the states and the companies. And my company is one of the original signatories. We pay into the MSA every year. The company that's pursuing this is going in a different path and has not signed the MSA. And so the distinction, again, this all comes down to definitions on a federal level because the Master Settlement Agreement definition of a cigarette is burned or heated. That's the concern.
Any more questions?
Mr. Chairman, will we have anyone here to explain this today?
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Ask and you shall receive. Jake Jacobs, the proponent. Welcome, Jake. You're going to probably get a little more time.
I just open for questions now. I've got some remarks. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Carrie, Baker, Ashley, and members for allowing me to speak today. I'm going to address a lot of the issues that have come up and sort of dispel. I think a lot of the folks who have already spoken have said a lot of what I would already say, that we support and are focused solely in the U.S. on embracing reduced risk smoke-free products that help people have a better alternative to cigarettes. And I think we all know that that's going to lead to better outcomes. As was stated, SB 96 seeks to create a defined category for heated tobacco products that's separate and distinct from things like cigarette and e-vapor and other tobacco products. To be clear, this legislation would not impact existing regulatory frameworks like T21 and other requirements that are set forth by, like Carrie mentioned, in the Master Settlement Agreement and our ability to make escrow payments here in Alabama. What these do is they help actually ensure that applying this product category that doesn't exist yet in the state to all of these regulatory frameworks, and I think the chairman said there was going to be an amendment to place a tax on this as well, actually ensures that things like T21 that have been a critical component and that Alabama was a leader on in helping keep all of tobacco and nicotine products out of the hands of youth. We supported that when it went through. We supported that when that became law at the federal level. We agree with what was already said by several members up here. The best thing someone can do is to never start smoking. The best thing they can do if they do smoke is to quit. But for folks who don't quit, the best thing they can do is to switch to a less harmful product. And the question is, how do we nudge folks in that direction? How do we reach adult smokers, meet them where they are, and provide them with an off-ramp that leads to better outcomes? We believe the answer can come through reduced risk smoke-free products like our IQOS product that was brought up here today. I want to be clear that this product has already, including when there was a licensing agreement with Altria to commercialize it, received an FDA authorization as a modified risk tobacco product. That has already been done for 4 SKUs of the heat sticks that you've just seen, as well as for the device that it deploys a heating element to heat those to a point that an aerosol is produced. And granting IQOS that designation, the FDA determined that IQOS was both appropriate for the promotion of public health and also that it significantly reduces exposure to the production of harmful and potentially harmful chemicals. The difference between heated tobacco products and cigarettes is clear, but it's also a very important distinction. Both contain nicotine, which, like was set up here, is addictive. But it is not the nicotine itself that causes the deadly disease brought on by smoking cigarettes. Through combustion, I think someone up here said there were around 20 chemicals that could be produced in an IQOS. I can't speak to whether or not that's exact, but there's about 6,000 that are produced through combustion when a cigarette is smoked. And those are where you see on the pharmacokinetic level and in the lungs, where you see things like lung disease, COPD, and others that cost Alabama roughly $2 billion to treat a year, around $300 million of which comes from Medicaid alone. The FDA also found that smokers who switch completely to IQOS will have reduced toxic exposure, and this is likely to lead to less risk of tobacco-related disease. By removing combustion, we found a way to give smokers an experience close to what they're used to without the majority of their risk associated with combustible cigarettes. But to be clear, IQOS is not a cessation product, but it meets smokers where they are and actually works to help transition smokers to a product that reduces their exposure to these harmful chemicals. Nicotine replacement therapies like Nicorette and stuff like that has a very low success rate. In our most mature market, which is Japan, where this has been on the market for around 10 years, last year it had a 72% success rate of folks who switched entirely away from cigarettes to only using the IQOS system. These are real results for real people, and it shows that harm reduction can work at a population level. The underlying health policy of this bill, taking the proven approach of harm reduction and embracing that, and I think if we're to see an amendment, that'll be reflected in the risk-based taxation model that's going to be brought forth for you to consider, is the right way to go about it. And I think that's good, sound policy for a long-term solution. But taking the approach to these real solutions like harm reduction and embracing that when new and innovative products come to market is the best pathway forward. I'm here to yield time to take questions, Mr. Chairman, as needed, but thank you again for allowing me to speak.
Senator Roberts, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Any data, and you just gave studies, 70-something% in Japan, cessation of cigarettes per se to this. What about initial startups for non-smokers originally or children? Are you going to share any of that information with us?
Sure, and I appreciate the question. And I do just want to repeat that it's not a cessation product, right? The best thing someone can do is to
a transition product,
a better alternative. One thing we have to do when we go through that MRTP process at the FDA, and by the way, that was a 2 million page submission that underwent exhaustive scientific review. We have to prove at a conceptual level, but also with real data, that the benefit to adult smokers outweighs the potential both for youth use and new adult nicotine use. One of the members here mentioned that there were some sort of launch markets in the U.S. that were done under a licensing agreement with Altria. In those controlled environments, we actually look to verify that folks who want to purchase the product are current smokers and that they are age verified at 21 and up, regardless of what the local use is. In Japan last year.
Did you get any other data when you collected that?
I don't have in front of me today exact data on the U.S. There was a number thrown out about youth use in the U.S. for heated tobacco products that I wasn't familiar with, so I don't want to speak to something that I can't give authority to here with data in front of me. But we know on a global level that it's incredibly low, often getting under that 1% mark. So
thank you.
Senator Bell.
Microphone. So what we just got passed around that fits in some little contraptions. Is that what I'm looking at this diagram?
That's right. So
Okay,
that
you got
actually, folks like to show just the heat sticks. They're actually
Okay.
made to look that way to help give smokers that
'Cause I
familiar
was
feeling, but it
trying to
goes
figure when
into
you
a,
pass it around, I was like, all right,
yeah.
you light that up, that's, okay, so that's.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes into actually a heating device here. This is just a charging case for it. And you would stick one of those heat sticks into here. It would recognize that device as being appropriate for use in this and heat it to a point that it doesn't combust, so that it just produces heat and aerosol that does contain nicotine and is inhaled and exhaled. But because it doesn't combust, there's no ash, there's no smoke, therefore there's no secondhand smoke, does not affect air quality, things like that. So this is the other piece of that system there.
Any other questions?
How does it recognize it?
When it's put, it's specifically designed to recognize it. So
If you put a normal cigarette into that, it would not work.
no, not that I'm aware of, because cigarettes have loose tobacco in them that are rolled in paper. This has a specifically sort of designed.
It looks
insert
fairly
that's,
compact.
right?
Yeah.
Made to fit with this.
Okay.
Go ahead, Senator Weaver.
I think we're all still trying to get our head around exactly how this works. So if someone were to light the heat stick, would it function like a cigarette does?
No, I've never tried to, so I don't want to give you a firm answer, but I've not heard of that being something that folks have done or that would work. I think the way it's designed, not being loose, it's pretty tight. I mean, I wouldn't try it in here, but.
So, any more questions, Senator Weaver? So, Jake, you've seen the tax rate that we propose here in this amendment. How does that compare to a cigarette product?
Sure. So it'd be taxed depending on what's proposed at a rate that sort of reflects the reduced risk profile of the product.
Right.
So when you look at the different biomarkers that were taken from blood and urine and scientific studies that were done, you see between about a 90 and 99% reduction in many of those harm-causing agents and outcomes. Certainly not as effective as cessation, but getting as close as that to possible.
Yeah, it's reflective to the risk.
Right.
I think Senator Weaver had one first question. I'm sorry, Williams.
I know who I am.
It looks.
Has any of those contraptions blowed up or anything like the vape where they've smoked on them and harm kids? I mean,
certainly not that I've heard of. We certainly put the research and development into this product that I think a lot of those smaller sort of unknown folks just wouldn't have the resources to do. So we haven't. I'm certainly not aware of any instances where there's been something like you see in those, vapes that come over.
Second question, how much does it cost and how much is the contraption going to cost you put it in?
Sure. So as was alluded to, we actually get the license back from Altria that'll end the agreement to commercialize this at the end of April. And so we haven't finalized our pricing model in the U.S., but I think I can tell you that at a high level, a device like that's going to cost, call it over $50 for the device itself. And then that's this piece here. And then a pack of the heat sticks will be, someone mentioned $5.75, somewhere around that mark, call it between $5 and $7. And that's one thing we're looking at is I talked about kind of how do we nudge folks in a direction of a better product. And we think the excise tax, of course, it'll be subject to all sales tax. The device will as well at that price point. So there will still be that's created, but acknowledging that risk-based taxation model is something that we certainly support, and I think a lot of other folks do too.
The only thing I see against it, I see you're going from a cherry bomb to a firecracker on this product.
So you don't lose a finger? Senator Butler?
Why would you use this product at a higher cost than a cigarette?
Because of the better outcomes. I mean, it's, we know that the more harmful product is right now today cheaper to buy, and that, there's a lot of existing and historical context for how tobacco taxation and other sort of legal parameters around those products have been set. But what we can do is as these new things come to market, we can sort of change that model and create a pathway that helps people have the off-ramp available to them.
They still get the addiction from the nicotine.
So nicotine is addictive, yes, but that's why we're solely focused on this being designed for and intended for, and also marketed to current adult smokers. So not folks who use some other product, and certainly not folks who are under 21.
It has real tobacco in it, right?
Yes, correct.
But the decreased
Not burning it.
Correct. It doesn't burn. It's not lit on fire. There's no combustion.
How about tar?
There's tar, if there is any, is at a highly reduced rate, to be almost negligible. So if you look at, like a filter on a cigarette that's been used and a heat stick after it's been used in this device, you would see one's, yellow or brown, and one's going to look the same as it did when it went in there.
I hear that it's going to be new to the U.S., but is there any medical studies from people overseas, Europe or wherever, using this product?
The short answer to that is yes. And like someone said, it was commercialized in the U.S. for a short period of time, then was taken off the market, and now it's coming back. But when we look at other markets, it's only been available for roughly 10 years. So I think from a scientific review standpoint, it's difficult to predict what will happen 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. But what scientists can do is look at various biomarkers and see what can be predicted based on studies of people who have switched to this or used this versus another product, and then make predictive outcomes. And that's been done by several institutes globally, and the FDA also conducted their review as part of the MRTP process.
It was introduced and then taken off the market. Why?
Yes. There's a lot of reasons that run around to that. I can't speak exactly to all those reasons. One was, just a licensing agreement and wanting to make changes in that. There was also an international patent dispute that I think had an effect on pausing sales in the U.S., but that's all been resolved, and we're going to be bringing it later this year.
The FDA has declared it a cigarette.
So the FDA is subject in their definitions to, and like Carrie said, to what's in the Master Settlement Agreement that was done 25 years ago and the Tobacco Control Act. So the FDA's charge from Congress is to regulate products in those categories that are defined within those parameters. What we would do in a normal market, a different market, this is a normal market, would be to go and do that at the federal level, right? And make that change exactly like we're going to do here, or what we'd like to do in states like Alabama. But we've got 50 governments here, and to amend that or change it would take congressional action to change the definitions, or potentially, which I don't think is possible to work on the MSA side, but they're going to call it a heated cigarette, and on the pack, like Carrie showed you, it'll still say 20 Class A cigarettes or whatever it says. And so that's why we're just like y'all are doing with some other products in the nicotine space. Outside of that federal ability to act, we are looking to the states to be forward-looking and set good policy that treats these products as distinct and different, knowing that they are.
You're going to market this as a cigarette?
I don't know exactly what terminology we'll use in any kind of marketing to the extent that there is any, but we'll call it, it's under the brand IQOS.
Any other questions? Yes.
Not right now. I think I may have some on the floor. After I do a little research.
Senator Stewart.
I'm still trying to wrap my mind. This is all new to me.
Sure.
And I just wanted to just speak on the reduced risk taxation model. Do we have how we're going to come up with reduced risk? Is it going to be based off, I know the gentleman mentioned Japan's reduced risk, but I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to come up with the taxation model.
And that's a good question. We've been working with the manufacturer and determine the risk compared to cigarettes, and also, Department of Revenue, they're worried about less revenue, obviously. I don't know if, if they worry about AA getting people off alcohol, but, I'm just saying it's the same type tool to get people to try a safer product. What I'm going to do, if there's not any more questions for Jake or Mr. Jacobs, is there any more questions? Yes, Senator Beasley.
Just wondering if there's anyone here from the Department of Revenue could address what you just said.
Well, I tell you what I'm going to do is they are here, but since if I put a tax on this, which everybody knows it's going to happen, I think it's going to make it a House bill that it needs to originate from. If it's okay, I
Hold
wish.
that question for later.
Well, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to carry it over, and we'll come back. But get ready because the version will be coming up, and I
It's
think
obvious it's going to be a less amount of money that's going to be created at the.
it's obvious that's what they would like to see the product, a less amount of money for sure. Yeah. So, yeah. So any other questions for Mr. Jacobs? All right, Senator Roberts.
What is the milligram load per stick that's in your pocket? How about that? I'm sure there can be varying loads.
Yeah, no, it's all one. All that we're going to be able to bring to market are the SKUs that were authorized by the FDA, and those.
What's
are all
the variance then of the SKUs you got approved milligram load per stick?
They're not sort of levied or denoted by a milligram percentage. The amount of tobacco in it is about maybe a little less than a third the amount that would be in a cigarette. But it's like the other products that say, you know, this milligram or that milligram, it's not going to be made that way or.
On average, what is the milligram load per one of your sticks?
I don't know is the answer. It's a very light amount. But.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here. I'm going to carry this bill over and call the next bill.
SB 15 by Senator Beasley.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Senator Beasley.
Senate Bill 96, presently in the practice of pharmacy, there are 3 technicians per pharmacy supervision.
Is your speaker?
It's on now. There it is.
What this bill does is address pharmacies that are considered compounding pharmacies, and we would like for the Board of Pharmacy to set the rule on the number of technicians that are supervised by a compounding pharmacist.
Who currently sets the rule, if you don't mind?
The Board of Pharmacy.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions for the sponsor?
Move favorable.
All right.
Second.
All right. Who gave the second over here? Senator Stewart? Okay. Senator Roberts, this is Senator Beasley's bill, and I knew you had a question earlier. Do you still?
I didn't see in there the final number. How many are they allowed to oversee? I guess is what I was trying to get to, Senator.
Presently, in the normal drugstore, pharmacy supervises 3 technicians.
Right.
Under the proposed bill, the Board of Pharmacy will set the rule on the number of technicians that are supervised by compounding pharmacy.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions? Call the roll.
Senator Beasley.
Aye.
Senator Bell. Senator Butler.
Aye.
Senator Chasteen. Senator Coleman Madison. Senator Gavan. Senator Roberts. Senator Shelnut. Senator Stewart. Senator Weaver. Senator Williams. Senator Stutz. Senator Melson.
Aye. All right. The bill is given a favorable report, 12-0. Please call the next bill.
SB 25 by Senator Weaver.
Senator Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So SB 25 is work that came out of the Alabama Healthcare Workforce Task Force over the course of the last year, and it's one of our legislative recommendations that we bring back to the legislature. And basically, this just authorizes the Board of Nursing to issue permits to regulate the practice of a nursing support tech, and that is a position that doesn't currently exist. It would just add consistent education and training and certification requirements with a standardized curriculum plan. We've worked closely with the Alabama Community College system. They would offer the training there at their locations, and we just believe it's a good thing because it creates a stackable credential so that as we look to fill these 1,500 plus current vacancies of tech positions throughout the state, it creates some standardization and helps us as we work toward that goal of making sure that that's taken care of.
All right. Do we have any questions for the sponsor? Motion by Senator
Bell, second Roberts.
By Senator Roberts. Any objection to previous row? All right, 12-0, bill's given a favorable report. Would you call the next?
SB 26 by Senator Weaver.
So SB 26 has one change, and there was a word that slipped through that was not edited last year when we passed this bill. We had originally looked at the loan repayment for advanced practice nurses, and there was a very similar bill that dealt with nursing educators, and the word nurse educator could have been advanced practice nurse on that second page, so it's just correcting that typo.
Second.
All right, Senator Roberts and Senator Stutz. Any objection to the previous row? And would you like to be added, Ms. Coleman Madison?
This is the last bill?
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks, everyone, for being here. And the bill's given a favorable report, 13-0.
There's always another way. Day. My daddy smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. My daddy got up in the middle of the night. He smoked. He would light a cigarette from a cigarette.
My daddy.
Daddy did on paper.
Yeah.
I wanted to get too technical. I never have approved farmers. Really too many.
That's what, 2 certified and 2, you have to have at least 2 certified.
Yes, ma'am.
They moved it to 4. Was
I would.
3 it had to be.
Oh. Is it all? All of them? Come up. Out on the phone. Mine's off now. Appreciate you protecting me.
Told you I'd bring you in some additional information. And I would be more than happy to come back and speak with you. Some of you opinions. At the Lowndes County Characterization, these are the legal documents. Have the resolution that they're at the back. There's information.
You know, my thing is not that.
I don't think we'll ever get it.
Not, I think it's something that should be incorporated throughout. Right, in everything. Right. I need to talk to Dr. Find out how we can custom.
Right.
And it was throughout K through 12 or whatever. I don't see it. Well, let me bring you now.
I mean, I think that's to you. Of course, the parents Virgin Rotary Church, the Alabama Catholic Education mandate is
That's not the issue. The issue is time.
I understand.
Okay, so, and that's what, so, and let me just say, I'm for it. So that's not the issue. The issue is how it is done and trying to get them, and I don't think that it needs to be a law. I think it needs to come from the state Board of Education. That,
Well, let me say, in that Alabama Character Education Mandate 1995 stated that the state board was to come up with a plan within 90 days of approval of that law, which is included in the school reform act of 1995. The governor, no. However, because of discussions that I had in the governor's office with Joe Bonner and Nick Moore, the education advisor for the governor, we concluded there needed to be the Education Commission. When they announced that Joe Bonner was leaving Montgomery to become the president of the University of South Alabama, of course. Thank you so much.
oh. Huh? Oh, no, it's love here. Let me see which one. Yeah, yeah, it's the one, it's, here it is. I don't know if it's, is it off? No, because the green light's still on. Okay, well, maybe it's on. No, it still says